Hey everyone! On today's episode of People-Centered Innovation, I'm talking to Diana Olusanmi, CEO of Future Fertility. This company is not only using AI in a truly innovative way, but they're also leveraging tech to help improve lives, helping those who are freezing their eggs or trying to conceive through IVF to understand more than ever about the quality and viability of their eggs. Making babies? It doesn't get more people-centered than that. Hi, Diana.
Hi, Rebecca.
How are you today?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for joining us. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and about Future Fertility?
Yeah, I'm absolutely happy to talk about our company and the solutions and developments we have been doing. So a little bit about myself. My name is Diana Olusanmi, and as you can maybe hear, my background is Nigerian. My accent is German, and I was born in Canada, so it's a pretty good mix, I hope. Yeah, so I was raised in Germany, and I did my mechanical engineering studies there, and later an MBA from the University of St. Gallen in Switzerland. So I had the opportunity to meet a friend, and while they were going through their fertility journey, they started a company working in this field, and that was so interesting that I really, really wanted to join.
That's amazing. Because the fertility journey is so unique and personal to everyone, can you explain a little bit more about how your company supports that?
Yes, absolutely. So maybe let's take a quick step back and see what is it exactly what we are talking about. So IVF, in vitro fertilization, is actually having egg and sperm fertilize outside of the human body and later transfer the embryo back into the body. So this journey is very taxing, and it's very long. And while my friend and his wife went through this fertility treatment, which is absolutely not an easy thing, I really have felt for them, and I was incredibly happy when it was successful. And the doctor that helped them, it's Dr. Dan Nayat from Toronto University, and also Harvard trained, and he's now our CMO. So he talk to them and explain them what they are doing. There's a sperm assessment, of course, and there's all sorts of blood work, but there's actually no egg assessment. And this is how the company was born. So our company developed a solution to look at a 2D image of eggs and to give an assessment about the quality and viability of this egg becoming an embryo.
Excellent. So, like you were saying, there was no assessment before for the quality of eggs, or I assume just the number of eggs was what the assessment was?
Exactly. So this is what you get as a woman. You undergo ultrasound, and they can see somehow the ovarian reserve, which is declining with age. And actually, what the state of the art and what is done right now worldwide is they give you an estimate just based on your age. And that's it. And of course, it is far from being personalized and far from being accurate.
Right, absolutely. Considering every woman goes into menopause at different times, who knows about, we don't know as a humanity about quality of eggs as you age. We just assume that they decline, but
exactly.
you could still have viable eggs up to the point that you hit menopause, or your eggs could not be viable.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, for any decision you have to take during that journey, you better base it on facts, and you cannot just base it on hope or some statistical data, which might or might not apply to you. So that was when our company was born, and together we started training on a backbone of artificial intelligence. We started training an algorithm to be able to look at images of eggs and to assess the possible outcome.
Right. And I understand in using this AI, you've been able to outperform the estimate of a trained doctor by 20%. Is that right?
Yes, that's absolutely right. And usually the ones that are dealing actually with the eggs are embryologists inside their labs. And we did and published several proof of concepts and studies where we compared the performance of the software with the performance of embryologists around the world. And we were consistently more than 20% better than the embryologists. And it is clear that a doctor always said there might be a correlation between the features they can see in an egg when looking through a microscope, but there was nobody who was really able to define this correlation, to really say which feature might lead to an embryo and which feature might be harmful. So they were always sure there is something to be seen, but of course the amount of different features you can see in an image of an egg makes it impossible for a human to correlate that to outcome.
Absolutely. Diana, how about you give me kind of a step-by-step walkthrough of the process of either IVF or egg freezing?
Yes, so our first product is for egg freezing. So let me start with this process. Egg freezing, social egg freezing, as we call it, you undergo ideally in your 20s. Usually those are women that want to postpone their decision of starting a family. They want to have an insurance for the future. And by that, they just decide, okay, let's freeze those eggs and have some sort of security in the future, which is a very, I do find this decision very intelligent. I think if this would have been available earlier, many more women would have done that already. So for this egg freezing, the process is very similar to a normal fertility treatment process. You first have to stimulate the ovarian reserve. So that means you are provided with hormones over the course of roughly 2 weeks. And you have to take this medication and you actually have to pinch yourself. So it is taxing on the body. You get hormones in addition. And I think it's quite a journey that you're already doing there in this 2 weeks. And it ends with a so-called trigger shot. And the next step then is the egg retrieval. So the patient, the women go to the lab, to the doctor's office, and in a very short, like 20-minute procedure, they retrieve all the eggs that have been able to mature during those 2 weeks. So usually you go home after a few days, after a few hours, sorry, and that's it. So the interesting part in that is that up to now, most women see only their visa bill. This is all they know about this retrieval. They will be told how many eggs have been able to freeze, and that's it usually. And apart from this relatively costly procedure, you have to pay every year the storage fee for keeping those eggs frozen.
Right. And I think you've said to me before that it's kind of like a black box of fertility. You get these eggs, you have no idea if they are of good quality, if they're viable, if there could be some kind of birth defect that happens down the road.
Yes, and it's especially because you really want that as an insurance, and what you get is a statistical data. So based on, as I already mentioned, based on your age, you will be either undergoing another cycle just to be sure and have more eggs. but it's far from being personalized or anything where someone is really assessing your eggs. So this is where our software, our solution comes in. We developed a product that fits in seamlessly into the lab process. So right after the egg retrieval, the embryologist is preparing the eggs for the freezing. They call it cryopreservation. And they look at those eggs under the microscope, and our software works with exactly this microscope and takes an image while they are looking at the eggs. So there is no additional time, roughly 5 minutes more, that the eggs are exposed, and the embryologist can just continue with the process as they have that in their laboratory.
That's great. I think a lot of people, who are potential customers would be really happy to know that there's no risk inherent in adding this additional test, and it's mostly just reward because you get a detailed report of your egg quality. Can you
absolutely
talk through what the report entails and what women would receive?
Yes, so just to come back again to the risk, the IVF clinics we're talking to, they are very, very risk averse. And the highest priority is always that the egg, which is the scarcest resource in the fertility journey, that there is no harm at all. So it has been very well received so far that we fit in and that we developed that software very closely with embryologists. So the outcome is that after the image has been uploaded to the cloud, we in real time are able to provide a report in PDF or however format. And this is explained then by the doctor to the patient. Of course, you can see the number of eggs. You have actual pictures of every single of your eggs, which is a very important emotional component, which we are just seeing now with the first patients coming back and talking about that. So, and apart from the images, our software gives a percentage of probability whether or not these eggs will fertilize and become an embryo. And the important thing is to not look at one single egg, because in the end, it doesn't really matter if one single egg, the percentage of one single egg is actually, it is the overall cohort of eggs, which I want to know whether how many embryos might be coming out of this cohort of, for example, 10 eggs. So this is also what we give the patients, and of course, all the scientific backbone that we rely on and how it has been tested.
Do you have any kind of client success stories you'd like to share? Is there anyone who's given you feedback? I mean, obviously this would mean a lot for people.
Yeah. So due to COVID, we were actually we wanted to start the market launch and having this provided by IVF clinics to their patients already in March. But everybody knows what happened in March, and unfortunately, IVF clinics weren't deemed essential to keep open during that time, at least at the beginning. So what I heard from many women was that they would say IVF clinics are extremely essential for their journey. And I think now this petition has been heard. And I think they remain open now, because if you're in the middle of a hormonal treatment, you better want it finished and get over with. So the feedback also what I got from women is that, gosh, if I would have known 9 months before that you have something like that, I would have gone for it. So this is what I hear constantly. So far, there's just the feedback that women love to receive a report. They love to see their own eggs. As I already said, it's an emotional factor that we didn't take into account initially, but it's a very neat thing to actually see images of your eggs. So we are now available in few cities. One of them is Toronto, in Vancouver, Chicago, and very soon near Sao Paulo. So, but we want to be available for any woman who wants to. So we are really excited to make that happen.
Yeah, that's incredible. Do you have a new launch timeline now? I mean, considering that COVID is still impacting us.
Well, we started as soon as the doors were open again, and since March we were able to offer it to women in those cities. So since September, we are available and in 3 locations, and yeah, there's a lot of interest, and we get on our website constantly women asking for help, and also because we at this very moment we started to just offer it for egg freezing patients. But there are so many others going through their IVF cycle, so their IVF fertility journey, that would also like to have this additional information about their eggs. Because, of course, for egg freezing, it is pretty clear you just want to be more secure about your decision, how many you are freezing. In case of an IVF cycle, especially knowing that so many cycles are not successful, just 1 out of 5 really becomes a baby. So people want to know what options they have, and you can just take a decision if you really know all the facts. So without knowing what about the egg, you cannot move on. So people are sometimes relieved. We just had a case, they insisted and wanted to see their images, even if this report was not yet finished for IVF. And we made it happen, and they were then assured that, okay, these eggs just don't look good. It was several trials already, and maybe it's time to move on. And even this result might be a relief for couples who try to get pregnant.
For sure. But yeah, I like the idea that for couples who are undergoing IVF, they can have that knowledge, and maybe that means that they don't have to do several IVF cycles and go through that stress and that emotional and physical sort of
Exactly.
acting.
Yeah, absolutely. And fertility doctors are also very eager to get this. My feedback with talking with different doctors is that they just want the best for their patients. They don't want them to come back. They don't want them to repeat because it's not a nice situation. So for them, it would be a very good counseling tool. And actually, the development was based on their input, on input of the embryologist. So it was really developed out of a need, and not just because we had artificial intelligence knowledge. We based that on a database of basically 20,000 egg images. But all the counseling and all the idea came really from the medical side.
Absolutely. And yeah, exactly like you said, that the best outcome for an IVF patient and their doctor is to never see each other again.
Yes, and so when I talked to some doctors and said, okay, maybe it goes right, and then you don't need this egg assessment, and all of them said, well, it doesn't matter. In case you're successful, you're even happier having an image of your egg anyway. So in any case, it just helps, and it just gives an additional validation possibility for a clinical problem.
That's great. It's great to hear that, you know, you're opening the black box of fertility, to kind of put it that way, that women can now know and make that decision with more confidence and more education as well.
Yes, and what we are trying to do is always we try to move the needle, and of course, apart from having these images and using this as a diagnosis tool for the doctors, there's also a big interest from the pharmaceutical companies, because they want to prove that the drugs they're administering, the drugs that they are promoting, are actually helpful. So they approached us also, and we are currently drafting studies and projects with them in order to help them to personalize the drugs and have maybe a better and more personal drug protocol for each woman when she comes in to seek her fertility treatment.
Absolutely. I can imagine that, it's this great combination of being on the cutting edge of a sort of scientific breakthrough, but also being able to help people and have that emotional connection as well.
Yes, absolutely. So now we get interest from all over the world. So it's really also an international problem that is among all the women in this world. And we go as far as Japan with our next installations of the software.
That's incredible. It's great to hear that, I'm not surprised that this product is catching on, but it's excellent to hear that you have such a global reach already.
Yes. So, and all that from Toronto. So, that's something really nice that I wanted to share with you.
Thank you, Diana, for joining us. We're excited to see what Future Fertility has in store over the next few years.
Well, I keep you in the loop. Thank you so much for having me, Rebecca.
Thanks for listening to this episode of People-Centered Innovation. We'll be back next week with another 20 minutes to make you think, spark conversations, and get you seeing tech in a broader way. Special thanks to my guest, Diana Olusanmi. This podcast is produced and recorded by me, Rebecca Holland. Our editor is Igor Vichikov, and our executive producer is Michelle Huang Rutherford. Our theme music is provided by premiumbeat.com. If you'd like to hear more from me and the Rangle team, please visit us at Rangle.io and check out Rangle.io/blog. We'll see you next week.